Ladies and gentlemen, Brian here. Are you ready for more D&D stories? Well, let's get right into it, shall we? What is your best D&D story, part 2? I'm playing a thief who is a compulsive liar, and I have convinced the rest of the party that I have the ability to detect lies. So, whenever something comes up, they all look to me to figure out whether it's true or not. I roll every time like I'm detecting lies, but the rolls don't mean anything, and I just make up whatever answer sounds fun at the time. So far it hasn't backfired, and I'm kinda unofficially leading the party from the shadows. My party of 5 was exploring this abandoned underground city. Eventually we came to be chased by a horde of goblins, too many to fight. Think like 40 to 50 enemies, almost a small army. We had found a ladder and were escaping along the rooftops. We came to a point where we had to roll an acrobatics check to proceed. Myself and another member of our party wearing heavy armor miserably failed our checks. So, now the party was split with 3 running across roofs and 2 of us running through the streets after picking ourselves up off the ground and tallying fall damage on our character sheets. We continue our run through the abandoned city with prompts from the GM of whether we wanted to go right, left, straight, at intersections, turn down alleyways, etc. Eventually, I asked the GM where we are and if we're still being chased. He informs us that we still hear some commotion in the distance, although it's further away than before, and we appear to be in some financial district. Now, the smart move is to keep running, since we appear to be losing our pursuers. But this is D&D, so clearly we didn't go with the smart move. Financial district with, like, banks? Yeah, sure, I guess. I searched the abandoned banks for a vault. You're being chased by a small army, and you want to rob this place? It's not robbery, it's abandoned. So eventually, we find a bank vault after some in-game time. The vault is filled with coins, which we stuff our bags with. As we're about to leave, the GM informs us that due to the time we wasted, we can now hear this horde just outside. So we need to roll stealth rolls to stay hidden / alive. Now since we're both wearing heavy armor, we both had -8 or so to modifiers to stealth rolls. My buddy rolls first and gets a nat 18, so a 10. Okay, so maybe this horde is deaf, we'll make it, right? I'm up. Die rolls and... it's a natural 1. We both rolled new characters that night. TLDR, idiots try to stealthily loot an abandoned bank while wearing heavy armor and being chased by a small army. The time our gnome paladin hooked up with an NPC because they impressed each other in battle. Ooh, that sounds saucy. The setup. We arrive in a town escorting 3 NPCs, the only survivors after their village was sacked by orcs. The townsfolk are suspicious of us, a dragonborn, a dwarf, a gnome, and a tiefling in disguise in a town of vanilla humans. But the villagers vouch for us, and we hole up for the night in the church. The next day, a watchman comes running into town with a dire pronouncement. More orcs are heading this way. Our team suits up, and we help the townsfolk hide, and the city guards prepare for battle. It's the 4 of us, 4 guards, 2 of the villagers we escorted, and the mayor versus 4 orcs, 1 orog, and an orc eye of Gurumesh. Now Viola, the gnome paladin, is very proud of her 5 javelins, and is thrilled to discover that one of the guards is also a javelin user. I love spears, Viola, so I'm with ya. As he runs past Viola in the heat of battle, she calls after him, "Wait, what's your name?" At which point the DM, who had been naming all the NPCs up to this point, sheepishly admits, "I forgot." We all have a laugh, and we're ribbing the guard / DM a bit. "Nice to meet you, I forgot." But despite this, Mr. Javelin Guard more than distinguishes himself in battle by scoring not 1, but 2 critical hits with his javelins. We immediately nickname him Crit. Viola swoons, but keeps her head in the game and scores a critical hit of her own. This does not escape Crit. The battle is won, the loot collected, the plot thickened. We all agree that it's time to take a long rest. Is Viola going to be spending her long rest with Crit? That depends. You're only allowed an hour of light activity. Is that going to be a problem, Viola? Crit comes over to your group. He hands Viola one of his javelins into which he carved his address. He also introduces himself. His name is I Forgot. Are you saying he critical hit on her? I'm sorry, I tried to keep a straight face. And that's how it came to be that our gnome paladin may or may not have begun a long-distance interracial relationship. It's complicated, she says, but I have a feeling we'll be seeing Mr. Gott again. Oh, I love that story so much. We had a half-drow in the party who didn't always think things through. He started off as chaotic good, I think, and managed to give himself an alignment hit for murdering some prisoners who were chained up and sleeping. Then another one for kicking a person who I'd already knocked out in a wizard fight club. And then later on in the campaign, we found a drow killing elven sword, and he wanted to give it to some elves, thinking they'd be grateful that he returned it and not kill him. One game day when he was absent, the rest of us sold it so he wouldn't get his dumb ass murdered by elves. A few months later, we bought him an ice cream cake IRL that said, "Sorry we sold your sword" on it. That's great. It starts with a countess. They meet with her and my players ask how hot she is. I say it doesn't matter, but they press me. Out of 10? I roll a D10 and get a 3. As we are talking, the bard is visibly contesting a thought and rolls a D20. It was a natural 20, automatic success. I don't see it, but the fighter does and calls him out on it. It went something like, "I saw that, bard." "What?" "That roll. That was a proposal roll." "Well, it was a diplomacy check, technically." "DM, he rolled it. You gotta count it." Count it! Count it! "You want me to count it, bard?" Why not?" I rolled the countess's diplomacy roll in return. Natural 1, automatic failure. My players hoot and get psyched. I tell the bard to confirm the roll again, maybe unjustified, but I knew what kind of chaos I might be letting loose. He rolls another natural 20. The table erupts as I describe how the Countess, absolutely flattened by his suave charisma, agrees to the marriage on the spot. The marriage happens. The player becomes a count, drinks are had, and merriment occurs. The Minotaur barbarian can't keep himself in check among humans, elves, and the like. He is smashing plates on accident, breaking wind, engaging in coarse discussion, and doesn't understand the concept of a waltz. There is a note I need to make about this Minotaur. His intelligence score was around 6. 5 is the minimum for sentience as we know it. He wasn't bright. By the player's own arguing, he mandated will saves to not become distracted by shiny objects or fly into a rage at the slightest perceived insult. The Minotaur is escorted out by the newly appointed Count and Countess. Instead of sending him out completely, they send him to the stables. He finds some cows at the stables and tries to hit on them. He has horns, they have horns, love is in the air. He is very stupid. Why not? Well, the animals do not understand concepts like Minotaur love and ignore him. The player rolls one as his customary, "Am I that stupid?" rolls, and finds he is that stupid. He flies into a depressed rage and strikes one of the cows. However, the player did not anticipate how little HP a cow has and caves its head in a single strike. This barbarian had the cleave feat, something he has used with gusto all campaign long. 3.5e rules. When you kill an enemy with an attack, you may deliver an additional attack to any target within your attack range. The player attempts another will save to rein in his emotions. He fails miserably. In his grief and rage, he falls back on old habits and cleaves a blow to another nearby cow, killing it instantly. The resulting havoc and fear from the rest of the cows draws the guards. The Count's first actions in his new authority is sending his friend to jail for animal cruelty. He bailed him out the next day. During this entire sequence, I merely narrated the events as they happened and did not meddle with events or their roles. This situation played out as D&D should be, by and for the players. It was magical and gut-wrenchingly hilarious. TLDR, by the will of the dice gods alone, a player unwittingly marries a countess, becomes a count, his buddy gets arrested for murdering a bunch of bovines, and zero DM intervention involved, the way it should be. This was a large online campaign with hundreds of players and plots working simultaneously. I played a human supremacist at the height of a major uprising of freedom fighters and elven supremacists. Having worked my way to the top of the military chain of command, I used my authority to push around elves as much as possible. One of the members of government, who happened to be an elf, decided she would attempt to do something about it. Knowing full well her intentions due to her constant prodding and attempts at undermining my authority, a buddy and I began scheming. Our intent wasn't to actually get rid of her. Our intent was to strike a decisive blow against the insurrectionists by luring them out of hiding. She just happened to provide the perfect excuse. The plan was fairly detailed and required a lot of preparation. The idea was that in order to lure out the enemy, we had to kill the elf. But we couldn't just execute her. We needed to make a real show of it. So we began openly building a legal case against her by collecting absolutely damning evidence. We dragged people in, threatened to flay loved ones for information which made the DMs freak out in DM chat, made bribes, the works. Then we started making alliances with all sorts of factions throughout the city so that we would have armsmen to strike when the moment was right. We had mercenaries everywhere who smelled the alluring scent of DM loot. As we got those two aspects ready, we intentionally leaked some seemingly vital information that was really not that important. We told one of her friends in confidence that she was being brought up on charges of treason for talking with the enemy. Nothing substantial, nothing that would hold up in court. Then, the day came. I summoned her to my barracks under the pretext of putting a criminal on trial. She, being an officer of the court, arrived to conduct the trial. When she arrived, and she asked where the defendant was, I told her it was her. We put her in the cells for a couple days while her friends rallied allies and built a defense around the false charges. On the day of the trial, my friend and I mustered our troops in the city square and then presented our case. Absolutely none of the charges we presented were covered by the defense. They just stood there silently trying to figure out how to salvage the mess they were in. The plan was working perfectly. We were going to get our guilty verdict, and she would be executed in the square. As we led her to the executioner's block, as it was pretty obvious we won, her ally sprung into action to free her. And that's when my boys did the same, and started carving up rebels. We captured several revolutionary leaders that day, and all of them were put to the sword. The aftermath was glorious. I had not only driven out all of the rebels, but had solidified myself as a military dictator. Even the Directorate, which was officially above my station, were too afraid to attempt to depose me. Hey everyone, Brian here. If you liked the video, then avert your eyes to the like video button and give it a tiny little click. If you're new to the channel, we here at Mr. Ripper invite you to join on up by using your bonus action to subscribe, and I suggest ringing that bell so you can stay informed with notifications as to when we upload or go live on the channel. You can also follow Mr. Ripper on his Twitter or join his Discord to stay up to date with the latest happenings on the channel too. And we also encourage you to join r/Mr. Ripper if you'd like to share your stories with us directly, either in a new thread or one of the thousands currently in circulation there. You can alternatively do it in the comments too here on the videos, but make sure they pertain to the topic in the video if you can. Alternatively, if you want to use a help action, you can subscribe to yours truly, me, Brian, over at my YouTube page, or follow me on Twitter, or join my Discord. All of that's in the description below, and you can get some good voice acting and gaming fun out of all of that. So check me out too. Business talk out of the way, I hope everyone's doing well. Did you know at the time of this recording, it's actually still August 10th? My birthday, 31, was on the 9th of August, and I'm recording this a day later via speedy spooky powers. I made a good wish too, and that was simply to have everyone in the world stay safe and remain as happy as they can be. I know it's cheesy, yeah, but I think with my heart more often than not, and I truly do wish for all of you to be as well as you possibly can be. From my friends and fans over there on my channel, to the ones here, to everyone in the world, really. I just want people to be okay and to know that things are gonna get better. Your health in all three aspects, the magical triangle of mental, physical, and financial, that matters to me. So I hope you're doing well and staying connected to those who mean most to you. So say hi in the comments, leave some love, and if you need a little bit of a rant, it's perfectly fine to do so down below in the comments, or you can join my Discord and leave it in our health and positivity chat. I encourage that. It's better to let it out than keep it in, bottled up, alright? So don't worry about a darn thing, just talk it out. All the loves, ladies and gents, and everyone in between, be safe, be happy, and we will see you next time. Bye for now.